The Unfiltered by Jade.
Jade. Welcome to The Unfiltered by Jade, where we educate, empower, and entertain. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, download, donate, and make everybody know about this.
Beats by RB Records.
Shopping assistance, your style, your budget. Our services include online and local shopping for individuals and businesses, personal shopping, purchasing of company and office supplies, importing and exporting small packages across Jamaica and worldwide, and helping you find unique gifts and items for all events and occasions. Contact us at 876-919-5195 or shoppingassistance2015@gmail.com. Shopping Assistance, your style, your budget.
Welcome back to The Unfiltered by Jade. Today we have with us here Bracha Goetz, and I'm excited to speak with her. We are going to speak today about overcoming food addictions joyfully. Yes, I said joyfully. So Bracha is the author of 42 books that helps children's soul and one memoir for adults. And I am sure she does many other things. At the end, we're going to hear where is it that we can contact her, where you can contact her to hear more about what she does, how you can reach her if it is that you need to ask questions, get information, and so forth. So, hi, Bracha.
Hello there.
How are you?
Wonderful. Thank God. How are you?
I am doing great. Thank you so much for asking.
Good. No, you sound very happy. That's terrific.
I am. Okay, so let us get into it, Bracha. First, what inspired you to overcome food addictions, and how did you discover the importance of incorporating joy into this process?
Yeah, addictions, all addictions are like being in a prison.
True.
It's a narrow prison and the walls keep getting narrower and narrower. And the crazy thing is that the walls are made up of our own thoughts. Like we put ourselves into this prison, and the key, we have the key, but we don't know exactly where it is.
True.
It's not like someone else has the key. We've got it. So
Right.
it's really interesting. And the thing with addictions is that we almost always do it secretly. Nobody knows what we're doing. We do it, and the behaviors can get more and more bizarre.
Mhm.
And yet people have no idea how we're suffering because we do it
By
secretly,
yourselves?
right?
Mhm.
When
Mhm.
no one's looking. So my food addictions got worse and worse. And what is it about it? And it's similar to other addictions, but the thing is with food is that you can't just give it up, you
Yes.
can't just stop eating like you could do with drugs or alcohol or
Right.
gambling,
Right.
so you're still doing it, but how do you get out of an addiction while you're still eating,
Yeah, that's the.
yeah. And the reason that we overeat is because we want the pleasure to keep lasting. That's really what it is. When we experience the pleasure of food, um, and if we feel that there's a scarcity of pleasure in our lives, then we just want to keep overeating because we want that pleasure to keep lasting. We feel like there's not enough pleasure in our lives. So since it brings immediate pleasure, we might as well just keep shoving it in. So like there's a show, My 600-Pound Life, Netflix show.
Right. Yes.
Yes. So on that show, all the people say the same thing. They say, it's the only thing giving me pleasure,
Mm.
just eating. And so they get so huge, they can't get out of bed anymore. That's their whole life, like just eating. It's so sad. And most of us are not like that, but they're an extreme form of what anybody is that has an overeating addiction, because um, they feel that there's no other pleasure but that. So from looking at them, we can get a better idea of what this is all about.
Yes.
Um, so what can make it better? The recognition that there is really an abundance of ways to bring pleasure into our lives at any moment. We
Yes.
all, yes, we feel powerless. We feel there's a scarcity of pleasure. So I just got to keep eating or doing whatever the other addiction is, drugs, alcohol, because there's not enough pleasure in my life. When we start to recognize that there's an abundance of pleasures available every moment, and that we have the power to bring them into our lives, that completely changes our lives. It's what changed my life, because
Mm.
it's an empowering outlook. When before I felt like I didn't have power, I didn't trust the world, I didn't trust myself. I felt like life seemed random and it seemed almost cruel. So when you have a different outlook, that changes everything. What I learned about is something called the pleasure ladder.
Okay.
And it has 5 rungs on the pleasure ladder. And these 5 rungs, they correspond to our 5 fingers, which means it's like an analogy that we have the power in our own hands
Yes.
to bring pleasure into our lives. So think of your hands. We can bring it in. How do we do it? The 5 levels of the pleasure ladder, they correspond to the 5 levels of the human soul. And the lowest level of the soul is the part that's attached to the body. So the lowest level on the pleasure ladder are all the sensual pleasures, the natural sensual pleasures that give our body pleasure. What are these pleasures? Like, for instance, um, music,
Yes.
spending time in nature, um, all kinds of exercise, whatever we enjoy. It could be swimming, it could be gar-
Dancing.
yeah, dancing, gardening, yoga, whatever gives us joy. When our bodies are designed to move, and when we do, it gets those happy endorphin hormones flowing. And this explains, and also all the natural foods were designed to give us pleasure. So my favorite example is an orange, because it's just so simple. An orange, like all the fruit, are green before they're ripe. They're all green. Why? They're camouflaged in with the leaves so that we don't eat them before they're ripe. And
Right.
then when they become ripe, they become bright and beautiful, the most beautiful, vivid color when they're the most ripe. And they're calling to us, we're ready. So that we get pleasure when we look at them. We get pleasure when we smell them. They're ripe and they smell good. And then the fruit, they're individually packaged, which is amazing. We take that for granted, but it's incredible. They're like, just take a pear, an apple, a peach, a plum, an apricot, an orange. So it's individually packaged, and an orange has such sweet juiciness that stays in it for months. So it's got this thick peel around it, which keeps the juiciness in for months, and we could take it with us any place. It's individually wrapped. And then when we finish eating the orange are the pits. We're left with the pits. Now, these pits were designed to become an infinite amount of trees, an infinite amount of more oranges. It's amazing, like all the intelligence that's packed inside a tiny seed. So could you imagine if we ate an orange with the mindful gratitude of all the loving kindness and intelligence that's packed into this tiny orange?
Mm-hmm.
It changes the experience completely. So an orange or any natural food, if we eat it with gratitude, that fills us up both physically and spiritually. In other words, it nourishes both our body and our soul. And
Yes.
and that's what all any of these natural things does, like music or exercise, dancing, like you said. It When we dance, we're filled with gratitude, physically and spiritually. If we experience it with mindful gratitude, so that's the first level. And above that is love. The next highest level of pleasure is love.
Right.
But a person would say love, it's dependent on somebody else. So that's the thing. The ancient mystical definition of love is recognizing the virtues of another, focusing on someone else's virtues. That's how we bring love into our life at any moment. Like, even if a person was in solitary confinement, like in prison, they could still remember, like a grandmother that did a kindness for them, and they are uplifted spiritually and emotionally with feelings of gratitude for that person. And so they can bring love into their lives, even completely alone. We don't need the presence of the other person to focus on what we appreciate about someone else. It fills us up with this warm emotional feeling. So we can bring love into our lives at any moment. And that's an even greater pleasure than the lowest level, which are all the natural physical pleasures. So, like, each level up brings more connection, because when we have an addiction, we are feeling disconnected, alone, um, disengaged. We feel isolated. It's that feeling of aloneness, that feeling of separation that puts us in that addictive state. So by adding connection to our lives, this is how we overcome it, through
Yes.
joy, through this joy. So, okay, the first level is natural physical pleasures, then love. And then the third level up is meaning, doing something good and meaningful in the world. So that's an even more lasting pleasure than the other two. Um, like, I was on another show, and when I got up to that level, the host of the show, he said, he was eating pizza by himself. He was feeling miserable and lonely. He finished 2 slices of pizza, and he was about to plow through the whole box of pizza by himself. There was a knock on his door. His neighbor needed help with something for 2 minutes. When he went back into his apartment, he no longer wanted the pizza. What changed?
He had a different pleasure point he needed.
Yeah. Yes, he had just helped somebody. He
Mm-hmm.
did something meaningful. So he could put the rest of the pizza in the fridge for the next day. It wasn't calling his name like it was before, when he was so desperate to get more pleasure into his life, right? Now he
Mm-hmm.
filled up with gratitude. that he was able to help somebody else. It's amazing. It works instantaneously. It's incredible. So
Mhm.
the two highest levels, this is surprising. The level above meaning is creativity. When we are doing something creative, we don't feel like eating or sleeping, and like time goes by, we don't even know time is passing. We're on such a high when we're in the creative zone. So
Mhm.
that is an even higher level of pleasure than doing something kind and meaningful. It's amazing
Right.
when we do something good and creative, into bring it into the world. It's one of the greatest pleasures there is, and that brings even more connection because we're putting a unique part of ourselves into the world by being
Yes.
creative. And the highest level of all, it's called transcendence. It's unity. It's a sense of oneness. We transcend the separation that we feel completely. We recognize we are connected to everybody and everything, and we're all connected to the same source energy. So we transcend our own limitations too. Like we make that first crack in an addiction or a bad habit, and we transcend our limitations and do something new. That first crack is like the most awesome feeling. So
Yes.
yeah, it's that's what it's all about. So these are the five levels of pleasure that we have the power to bring into our lives, and I am getting so much joy just letting people know about this because it's not so well known, and it's universal. And this is what works to overcome addictions, and it's helped me overcome my food addictions.
I want to ask you, looking back at your journey, what are some of the key lessons about the transformative power of joy in overcoming food addiction? And what message would you like to share with those facing similar challenges?
Exactly. Yes. Identify what can bring you more pleasure than eating or whatever other addiction you have. What else could bring you pleasure? So get unstuck, because we got in the habit of getting stuck looking for pleasure, looking for comfort from food. And now you know there's an abundance of ways to bring pleasure into your life besides this. You have the power to go outside, feel the sunshine, feel the breeze, turn on music, start stretching, start dancing, even if you're by yourself, or love. Leave a message, leave a text message for someone you appreciate. You don't even have to talk to them. The minute you leave that message, the bag of potato chips stops calling your name. It's
True.
amazing. It just works that minute. You have filled up with gratitude. It's that is, oh, I forgot to say that. The price you have to pay to climb the pleasure ladder, any rung, there's only one price to pay, and that's gratitude. That is what fills us up with lasting pleasure.
I was going to ask about some specific strategies or activities that brought joy into your life. What exactly did you do that brought joy into your life?
Yes, like for instance, when I feel like overeating, I'll still have those old habits come back and an urge to overeat.
Right.
So I have these, like a mantra, like a saying that I say, is it your body that's hungry or your soul? And that
Mm,
will remind me. Yes, it reminds me. My body, I just had a good meal. I had a nice, healthy meal. If I now still feel like overeating, it's because I just want the pleasure to continue. So if I'm really hungry still, okay, have an apple, have an orange. Like if it's really, eat something natural and healthy, because I'll know then that's really not what's going. It's that desire for pleasure and connection. Or I could do all kinds of other things. Do something creative that I enjoy. Do something meaningful. Or just, go outside, start moving. Now we know there's all these other levels that can
Right.
also bring us pleasure.
Yes.
Or like eating something healthy, replacing the the need to finish the whole box of chocolate chip cookies or the whole container of ice cream. Instead, okay, let's see, if I'm really hungry, I'll have an apple.
Mm. Okay, okay, yes, yes, yes. That's a good one. Instead of eating something big.
Yes.
Oh my God. What advice would you give to people who are struggling with giving up their addiction for food?
Yeah. Also, recognize you're always going to relapse, but big deal. This is what you say. Let's say you eat 10 candy bars. You say to yourself, well, I'm grateful I didn't eat 50 candy bars. Or
Mm.
you eat 50 candy bars. You say, I'm grateful I didn't eat 250 candy bars. There's always something to be grateful for,
Yes.
because what happens is it traps you. Like, you start eating unhealthy things, or you have a whole big binge, and then you say, well, I binged so much, I'll just binge some more.
Mm.
So here's the thing: you go back into gratitude. Then it can't catch you anymore. It
Yes.
wants you to slump down like that and feel miserable. We all have the voice in our heads trying to get us to be miserable
True.
all
Very
day
true.
long, all
Yes.
day long.
Yeah.
And the way to fight it is gratitude. Any minute that you are being grateful is a moment you're not being miserable. So,
Wow. Hmm.
exactly, just keep filling your lives with gratitude. It's not easy at first. Like, it's like traveling on a road that no one's traveled on, and it's really gravelly and hard. But once you keep traveling that road of gratitude, it gets
Right.
easier and easier. Yeah.
Nice, nice. I love that. I love that. Bradshaw, where is it that people can find you if they want to get in contact with you?
Oh, my website is www.getzbookshop.com, and Getz is spelled funny, Goetz. You can find all my books. I teach children about gratitude so they can know from the very beginning of life, and I teach it to adults so we can play catch up. But yeah, exactly. The earlier we put gratitude into our lives, the more joy we can experience.
Sounds good. Sounds good. And do you have an Instagram account that people can follow you on?
I have Instagram, I have Facebook, I have LinkedIn, but the best thing really is going to the website, and then you'll find all my books, and you can contact me. And yeah, I give presentations, and you'll find all my books there. Oh, and you'll find the pleasure ladder. You can download a free copy of the pleasure ladder to put on your fridge or on your cabinets. When you feel like overeating, you can look at the pleasure ladder. It has all the details, and that will help you to practice that more and more.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Bradshaw, for that.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me here.
Awesome. And Braca has given you guys the information that you need to get over your addictions or to help to get over the addictions joyfully. Not painfully, but joyfully. So thank you so much for that, for the information I have given to us and the listeners. And thank you so much to our listeners for continuing to listen to The Unfiltered by Jade. And we'll be back next week, Tuesday. Thank you.
Bam bam bide, bam bam bide, badu bidi bam bam bide.